Em, have you recommended our show to anyone this week?
Sure have, Gav. I went to a teaching community on Facebook and shared a link to our show.
Followers, if you think someone would benefit from listening, watching or reading our show, recommend us to your friends, teachers or learners or your school. We'd be really grateful.
And don't forget you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi/howtoenglishpod. Gav, what are the followers going to learn on this week's episode of How to English TEFL Pod?
Well, we have a few corrections to make from the previous show.
A bit of housekeeping.
We look at a few common portmanteaus.
Yes, and what do you do when you run out of ideas?
How to deal with newbies on the course.
And then we're going to play a game about truth or lies.
And our quiz of the week is for students to help them determine their learning style.
Sounds great. With no further ado, let's begin the show.
It must be me this time. I think you did it last time.
Don't know.
Welcome everybody, this is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gav Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and reference will be given when necessary.
Do you want to do it again? Because I think it's you. Just do both, because I think it's the other way around. Welcome everybody, this is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gav Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning and laughing and English.
As a foreign language, and all opinions stated are personal and references will be given when necessary. That was different, Gav.
It was, and I hope I've got your attention, Em, as well as the followers, because we have a couple of corrections to make from last episode.
Yes, followers, I hope we have your full and undivided attention because we need to tell you a couple of things about portmanteaus.
Is it because I didn't introduce the topic very well, Em?
I think you did. I just think it's very complicated.
It's a very complicated topic.
Yeah, so after the episode, which was episode 11, Gav, Portmantopia, which, if you remember correctly, was a portmanteau of which two words?
It was a portmanteau of portmanteau and utopia.
Yeah, so those two words smushed together. I did a bit of digging, and I found out that you were half right. So Lewis Carroll, let's say, reinvented the word portmanteau. Before him, it was a word, and you told me what that word meant, and what was it? Do you remember?
It's a combination of the word trunk or suitcase and coat or jacket or something like that.
In French.
And also in English.
Yeah, well, we used it. We borrowed it from the French language.
It's in the English dictionary.
Of course. From the French. This inspired Carroll to create words that were pushed together, and then he called them portmanteaus.
So Lewis Carroll invented the concept of the portmanteau, which, as you describe, is to smush words.
Very technical word, that. Yeah. And in his book, Alice in Wonderland, which
I've heard of that one.
I think most people have, he used for the first time ever the portmanteau mimsy, which we don't really use anymore.
I'm not sure I've ever used mimsy.
We never have used mimsy. I don't know why it didn't catch on.
Well, somebody probably does.
I have never heard it, just for the record. But what is it a combination of, Gav? Mimsy.
I haven't a clue.
He was talking about these creatures, I think, that were mimsy. They were miserable and flimsy.
Oh, like floppy, unhappy organisms.
Sulky things, yes. And the other one he came up with was slithy.
I think I've heard that, but that's because he used it.
Yeah, again, only in the book Alice in Wonderland. So slithy, meaning...
slippery and lithy.
Oh, you're so close. Lithe and slimy.
Yeah.
It's a very descriptive kind of word, isn't it, Gav?
It is. I can almost taste it, Em, or feel it under the bottom of my shoe.
Exactly. You want to step away from the slithy things on the forest floor.
Especially if they're created by mimsy things.
So I looked at a few that are a bit more everyday, Gav. I wanted to give our followers and you some examples of some very common modern day portmanteaus.
That is a very good idea. I also picked up a couple, so let's share our ideas, Em.
All right, well, I'll ask you mine first. So you tell me, what does...
Quiz of the... Oh,
Not starting with quiz. No, we're going to just do a little extra. So what is a cronut?
cronut is a combination of a croissant and a donut.
You are correct.
I knew that one.
Modern, new thing. And I think there's all these different versions of muffin and donut together and croissant and muffin. And it's all...
Like a muff nut?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but they are lovely, lovely words. What about...
And possibly tasty pastries.
Tasty pastries, that's nice. What about boxercise? You might go to the gym to do some boxercise.
That sounds like I am boxing and exercising at the same time.
You are right.
I've got one for you, Em. How about edutainment?
Nice, that is education and entertainment together.
That is it exactly. It fits very well with our podcast, Em. How to English Teach and Learn with Gav and Em, the edutainment podcast.
Oh, I like that. That's nice. And it's not a mockumentary, which is a combination of...
Is it mocking somebody by pulling faces and mentoring, mentor?
I'll stop you there.
Oh, no.
Documentary. So
Oh.
it's like a false or phony documentary that's a comedy thing.
A mockumentary. Be wary of those fake documentaries.
Or just enjoy them, but know they're funny and not based on fact.
Well, can I mention a snacksident?
Really? Is that when you just don't want to eat snacks, but, oh, look, it's just happening. It's in my hand, it's going into my mouth. How did it happen?
That is exactly it. What might you have as an example for us, Em, as a snacksident?
I don't know, you open the bag of chips, crisps, I would say crisps, and you think, I'm just going to have a handful. And 10 minutes later, you look and the bag's empty.
Oops, I've had a snacksident.
I like that. Have you seen any cockapoos recently, Gav?
I think one of my students has a cockapoo.
And what is a cockapoo?
It's a cockerel and a poo.
Cockadoodle. No, it's not. It's not that. Come on, you know.
It's, is it a type of cocktail? No.
What are you talking about? It's a dog.
Cocker spaniel and a labradoodle.
No, that's a different dog. That's a Labrador and a poodle.
You know I'm not great with my dogs, Em.
You are not good. Cocker spaniel and poodle, Gav.
Of course it is.
Which kind of breaks the rule of portmanteaus because they've ended with a word that's open. Poo, as in poodle.
Well, I don't think it breaks any rules, Em.
Okay. But back to serious stuff. Do you know Microsoft is a portmanteau?
Is it microchip?
No, it's microcomputer, which I think back in the day was quite a revolutionary idea.
Microcomputer?
Yes. And
Software?
Yes.
Oh, Microsoft.
Who knew?
Well, I'm sure lots of people know him.
I didn't. You didn't. Now we do.
Can I tell you one?
Yes.
A Brelfie.
Brelfie. Well, it's something selfie, but brother selfie?
It's a meal.
Brelfie. Breakfast and healthy. Healthy breakfast?
No, it's the photo you take of your breakfast.
Oh, it's a Brelfie. No, I've never heard that. Really?
Yeah, take a selfie of your breakfast. You've made a Brelfie.
Is that what the kids are saying?
This kid is.
We could go on all day, Gav, but I think we're going to have to stop there.
That was not the only additional piece of information that I need to add to the previous episode.
There's more.
There's more. Do you remember I said, I've invented lots of portmanteaus. Do you want to check them out and tell me whether they're real or not during the quiz?
I do remember. It was loads of fun.
Followers, do you remember?
Yeah, we remember.
I thought you did. Well, I need to just amend a couple of things. Do you remember I said friendsurance?
Friendsurance, yeah.
Well, if you add a D to it, you get friendsurance, which no longer makes it a portmanteau, in my opinion. And
Wait, just a sec, Gav. I said this was a made-up word and it meant having your friends support you in a social situation or something like that.
that's it. If you turn up to a party and you feel that you're alone and then you see your friend, you think, oh, great, I've got someone to support me during this stressful situation, for example.
Friend and insurance together.
That's it. But we dropped the D off because I wanted to make it a portmanteau. Well, turns out, put the D back on, and you have peer-to-peer insurance schemes, which are a real thing.
Really?
Yeah, basically, you put all your money along with your friends into a big pot. And
You don't put your friends in a big pot, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Put your friends'
Money.
in a big pot. And if somebody has an accident, you can draw from that pot. If nobody has an accident, take all your money back at the end of the period.
Oh.
Friendsurance.
Right.
It's a real thing. Em, do you remember I mentioned Hitchu?
Yeah, I said it was a combination of hiccup and achoo, like sneeze.
A sneeze, yeah.
You're telling me it really is, or what?
Hitchu, HITCHOO, is in fact an online dating service.
Is it a portmanteau?
Em, don't ask me any more questions. I do not know.
Hit me up. Choose me. It might be that.
It could be. And finally,
Oh, there's lots of things.
well, you mentioned possibly making a TV show called
Octonauts.
Octonauts. It's a real TV show, Em.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. There's the Octonauts.
Yes, well, it's such a cool name. So I'm just going to quote from the net. It says, from their octopod home base, a team of undersea explorers is always ready to dive into action to explore new underwater worlds, rescue amazing sea creatures and protect the ocean. The group is led by Captain Barnacles the bear.
No way. So maybe this one is an octonaut as in octopus searching astronaut. We said it was like 80-year-old astronaut, but this is not going up in space, this is going down under the sea.
Well, as I mentioned, Captain Barnacles the bear, also Quasi the kitten, Peso the penguin, Dr. Shellington, the sea otter, Dasher the dog, Tweak the bunny, Professor Inkling the octopus, there's your octopus, Em, and Tulip the Vegemel, which are part vegetable, part animal.
A lot of portmanteaus there, but I'm intrigued. And I can't get over that.
Animated kids TV, Em. The
I got
Octonauts.
that. It was a cartoon, Gav.
It
yeah.
sounds so cool.
Does. Well, thanks for all that. I hope that whoever listened to the last show followed on and listened to this show, because otherwise they would be misinformed.
They would be walking around thinking, Octonauts, that could be an 80-year-old astronaut.
Yeah.
So I think that's the end of the show, Em. We've pretty much wrapped up everything.
No, we haven't even started yet, Gav. We've got to start this show, this episode. How's your week been?
My week has been very, very good. Been really busy and lots of teaching and learning has happened. I made a few notes about some stuff that happened during my teaching week and I thought I'd share them with you. Have you also done the same?
I have indeed, yes.
Maybe you could tell us, Em, what do you do when you run out of ideas?
I open another folder on my computer.
Is it titled Another Folder?
Well, no, it's organised by grammar point, vocabulary point, lots of different lessons, kind of listening lessons. And I just look for something that takes my fancy.
Not something that's relevant to the students' learning needs?
Are you talking about running out of ideas mid-lesson or running out of ideas for your upcoming lesson? What are you talking about?
I was thinking during the course.
Right. So then, yeah, I would have already asked the class what they want to do. So I'm hoping that wouldn't happen. But if it did happen after maybe a few years, for example.
Well, if you've done everything they've asked you to do, you've taught all the things they require, then
True.
what do? Your mind is empty. The students' minds are empty. And nobody knows what they're doing next?
You've already asked them again if there's anything else they want and they've said, no, we're all happy, we've done everything. Then, yeah, I would just have fun with my own resources.
Open another folder, just pick a topic,
Yeah.
and then see how that goes down with your students.
Yeah. What would you do?
I would probably do something very similar. I have got a number of backup lessons in case I do run out of ideas. So there might be topic-based. There might be some grammar stuff in there, some vocabulary. It could be some games. For example, I've got some pronunciation games, something like, how do you say these words? They all have silent letters in them.
That all sounds good. I do try and keep a variety of lessons. So if one week we've done a lot of grammar, then I'll think, right, we need to do vocabulary the next week, and then maybe a listening, and then some conversation for fluency the next time. Ideally, you want all of those things in one lesson, but I do tend to focus on one skill, and then the next week I'll think, right, something else this week. That tends to keep me going, to be honest. Once we get through all those things, I start again from the beginning.
Do they not realise they've already done those materials?
No, I don't mean we go back to the beginning and do the same materials. I mean we go back to, let's do some grammar. So maybe we did conditionals 2 months ago, but this time we're going to do modal verbs. And it's just a little bit more heavy on the grammar side. And then the next week we'll do a listening, which we did before, but a different kind of listening about a different topic. I think that keeps it quite interesting, and the students feel like they're getting a broad spectrum of things. Tends to work.
It does sound very good. Sounds very organised.
And mixed in with that are just things that I might find online during the week. I might see an article in the news or a new TV programme that I think, well, maybe they'd like to talk about that, and I might build a lesson around that.
You're always keeping it up to date. There's something new in your canon of materials.
Yeah, it's out there if you want it. I think, to be honest, I'll never run out. As long as the world keeps turning, I think there'll always be things to talk about and lessons to learn.
And your students will always be interested in all these topics. You're not worried that they'll turn around and say, Teacher M, I'm not sure I'm enjoying this anymore. Can we do something different?
Yeah, I'm always worried about that, Gav. That's the thrill of teaching. That keeps me on my toes. I'm constantly questioning if this is going to be interesting and if they're going to like it, and if they don't like it, what am I going to do? But that's just how it is.
That's cool. So you've always got your backup ready, and you just see how your new materials, your old materials, something for everyone.
Yeah. I've had a couple of new classes this week, Gav, and I just wanted to know, what would Gav do?
What would Gav do?
In the situation where you have a new class start, you've got 6 students, but at the beginning of the course, 1 student can't attend because they're on holiday for 2 weeks. So they miss the first 2 lessons, and then they join. And you've already asked the others what they want.
And that's a new class, so they've not had a teacher before, they've not done a course before for quite a while, they've probably not studied together before.
Yeah, they may have had a long break. They're all different people from different departments in a company, and they don't know each other. So this person that's coming in is a stranger to the others, but the others have kind of already bonded, and you've already done the needs analysis and all the getting to know you activities. So what do you do in that situation, Gav?
I think you have to go back to the beginning and do a quick version of the beginning of the course activities.
This is just a one-to-one, basically, with the new student.
No, I would incorporate all of the students' information. So I'd say, student A, you're new, but you don't know these others. So student B, introduce student C. Student C, introduce student D, etc., etc. And then introduce me. What do you remember that I've told you about myself? And then student A, do you have any questions? Great. Answer them if they have any questions. If not, then carry on. And then say, student A, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I kind of did that in a roundabout way, but I'm always a bit worried about, it's still a new group, remember? They've only had 2 lessons. So I'm always a bit worried about putting them on the spot. And I was going to do the introduce each other thing, but then I panicked at the last minute and thought maybe they don't remember. And then it's really embarrassing for them.
That's okay.
So all I did was pretty much what you said, except I got the students to reintroduce themselves.
Which is absolutely fine as well.
Yeah, because they always need to practice that, I think. So they did a little mini introduction again. And then, as you said, I got the new student to introduce themselves last so that they don't feel like they're in the spotlight.
And they've also heard how the others have introduced
Yeah.
themselves. For example, hi, my name's Gav, I'm 12, I love cats and dogs.
Exactly.
They've got the format and then they just need to replicate that with their own information.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then a quick just asking them directly, what do you want from the course? Why are you here? What are your goals? And pretty much, yeah, that worked quite well. They're just a lovely group anyway, so they all were very welcoming. But That's, I suppose, not to be taken for granted that it's going to be like that. Sometimes it is hard to integrate a new student for a teacher, and sometimes it's hard for the student to integrate into a new group. And also, maybe if you've had a course running for a very long time and you have new students coming in. Have you had that situation recently, Gav?
I have. I often have students coming into my course and then possibly dropping out a bit later.
Well, let's focus on the dropping in part, because we've already talked about disappearing students a few times. But that I find as a teacher quite a challenge, because you've got the original group.
The core group.
The core group, and they're really tight sometimes. Like they've got their little in-jokes and they've got their personalities that they know really well, and they're kind of, I don't know about you, but sometimes they have this kind of aura of, oh, well, we know the teacher and we know the course, and it kind of boosts them a bit, but that can seem a little bit intimidating, I think.
You are not describing my students at all.
Really? Oh, I have some, not always, but I have some groups where I just feel like they get closer together.
It sounds a bit clicky to me. My students are not like that.
Well, you've done well to create a non-clicky environment. Not clicky, but you know when they just get a bit more confident because there's somebody new and they want to not show off, but they just want to show what they can do and be very familiar with each other.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's clicky, but that is also something we have to consider as teachers.
I think the dynamics change profoundly when any student appears, disappears.
Absolutely.
It will rearrange itself completely. So I'm always open-minded about anything that might happen there.
Well, yeah, but you've got to be monitoring it, haven't you? And you've got to be aware of who's the alpha and who's the...
Em, I've already told you I'm the alpha.
Yeah, well, that's what you need to do, I suppose. You need to keep that balance right. And I'm very aware of that. And I don't want to turn the core group against me by being very focused on the new student where they feel like they're being ignored and perhaps not play, you know, if they're making jokes with each other, that if you're not laughing along with them because you don't want the other one to feel left out, then you run the risk of them getting a bit annoyed with you about that.
Yeah, I think the way I teach, I'm not really part of the group. So I'm always sort of a little bit further back. So they might all be giggling, laughing about something together, and I just look at them patiently. Yeah,
but then you're sort of siding with the newbie, aren't you?
No,
As in,
just
we
me.
don't know what's going on. Can you explain?
I'm just me, Em. I will always be sitting there as the teacher, composed, possibly giggling a little bit. But I wouldn't like the new student to feel not part of the group. So, no, I think it's okay.
And if you ever remember as a kid going to a new school or being put in a class that you weren't originally part of, I think anyone who's experienced that remembers it. And that doesn't really change, in my opinion, as an adult.
As an adult, you feel the same?
I do, yeah, because you've still got to do that whole, like, working out your place in the group and seeing who's there and finding out, you know, the dynamics. It's quite hard socially, I think, to do that, unless you're uber confident and just naturally a very outgoing person, which some people are. But I do always consider that and think, well, how would I feel if I was new to this group? Would this seem like a nice environment, or would this seem also not just a nice environment, but if you're just talking very quickly and topics are not introduced because the students that have already been there don't need all that, it's almost like you've got to go back a bit to the beginning of how you were in the first lesson with all of them together, and you have to go back it. And then maybe the ones that are there that have been there a long time think, whoa, we're really, you know, going backwards here. But I think you have to.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
But maybe, as I said, you do a mini version of the course in that case. You go back to those first lessons. We're doing introductions. We're doing what do we want to learn on the course. Maybe you say to the regular students, is there anything else you want to study that we haven't covered already?
It's
a good time.
Yeah, it could be a good opportunity, actually, to make them reflect on that. And also just to realise how far they've come, that they don't need you to speak really slowly and they don't need you to be very clear with everything you say, that they're actually quite advanced in the way they understand you. That would be a good time to get them to introduce each other. I think that would be a perfect time because they're very familiar with each other by then.
Yes, they'll be really good at it. This leads naturally to another time-based question, which is, What do you do when you have, let's say, a 60-minute lesson, but one student arrives and says, I'm really sorry, but I can only stay for 20 minutes?
Yeah, that happened to me today. You have to, in a nanosecond, think about your lesson that you had ready. Think, will it work? Is it going to be okay time-wise? Do I have enough students to do it? Is it the right people on the right day for this activity? And then you have to make a decision.
Do you also consider whether you should give a little more attention to the student who has less time than the others?
You're talking about it from that point of view. Possibly, yeah. I suppose if they've only got 20 minutes, you want them to have a lot of talk time or opportunity. Yeah.
Maybe focus on them a little bit more.
Yeah, a bit more. Yeah. But you have to, as I said, going back to it, you have to decide whether to throw out your whole plan and just try and find something that fits, which I did today. I had a group of 4, 2 cancelled 10 minutes before the lesson. So I thought, okay, well, this is good. I've got pair work I can do. I don't often get to do pair work with this group. So I had all these A-B pair work activities set up, and then one more said they couldn't come.
Oh, no.
During the first 5 minutes of the lesson. So I was all ready with my A and B worksheets, and then I had to just decide what to do. So I made a call, Gav.
Who did you call them?
No, I didn't make a call.
You had to make a split decision there.
Yeah, so what do you think I did?
Did you cancel the lesson?
No, of course not. That's the last thing you're going to do.
Did you watch a TED talk?
Nope. No, I was the other student.
Oh, no.
What? What's wrong with that?
You were student B?
Yeah, I was student B.
Oh, I find that exhausting.
It was good. It was good just to get into something from a student point of view and just to see how it worked. It was quite nice. We did a jigsaw reading. Do you know what that is?
Can you remind me?
Well, student A starts reading a text until they get to a space with information they don't have.
And then student B takes over?
Yeah, and continues reading until they don't have the information, and then you just keep taking turns, and it's really nice. And I think because it was me being the student B, I was able to control the timing a bit more, because a lot of the time with these sort of activities, 2 students just start talking over each other and they get mixed up with whose turn it is. So I was able to really control it, and it was actually really successful.
It sounds very successful. Were there some comprehension questions at the end that the 2 of you had to answer?
Yes. Well, it was actually really interesting because we were describing a component and the diameter and the measurements of this component. And then at the end it said, but what is the component? And then we both realised we hadn't really been paying attention to what it was. We were focused so much on the missing information. So then we went back through and we read all the different aspects of it. And it was a pivoted rotor with 56 blades connected to it, and it could create a huge amount of energy and weighed 600 kilograms.
Goodness me, I was sure you were going to say it was the heating element of a kettle.
That's not it. What does it sound like?
Was it a helicopter?
No, because they don't have 56 blades, but you're close. It was the turbine of an aeroplane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was nice. Nice to look at it in different ways.
That is a different perspective when the teacher becomes the student.
Yes, Gav.
I was walking past your classroom the other day.
Oh, were you now?
Yeah, this is a new feature.
I was walking past your classroom when I heard ...
You said to the students, you must say yes.
Oh, I think it was yes, I have, wasn't it?
I don't know, I wasn't listening that carefully. I just put my headphones in and just walked on past.
Oh, right. Well, yes, that sounds like the lie game, Gav.
The lie game.
Yes, the lie game.
Is that where you lie on the floor and the first person to sneeze loses?
No, I don't know that one. It's a game where you have to lie to each other if the situation calls for it. So you have a sheet of questions, present perfect questions, only a fraction of the questions, so the students have to make a question using have you ever seen a tiger, for example.
Have you ever seen a tiger?
Yes, and the part you overheard as you walked past the door was you have to say, yes, I have.
So one of the other students will ask me one of these questions and I need to say, yes, I have.
Yes, with no hesitation.
And then I lie down?
No, then you have to answer lots and lots of questions that the other students will ask you to find out if you really have seen a tiger.
Oh, no.
And if you haven't, you've got to lie.
Oh, I'm not sure I could do that, Em.
Well, it's something we could try now if you want.
I have seen a lion, actually.
A lion, not a tiger.
What did you say?
I said a tiger, but you've seen a lion.
Hold on, did you say
I said
tiger?
tiger. I've only said tiger.
I have seen a tiger, actually, Em.
Right. Where did you see this tiger?
I saw it at the zoo.
And when was it?
It was 4 years ago.
Which zoo?
It was the Capital City Zoo.
Okay. And what was the tiger doing when you saw it?
It was prowling up and down the cage.
And was it with other tigers?
No, it was alone.
And what colour was it?
It was tiger orange.
Yeah, I don't know what tiger orange is. You think it was orange, so you're saying it's orange?
Yeah, with black stripes.
Like the one on the cereal box?
Yes.
And did it make any noises?
No. Although I wasn't very close to it because it looked really angry.
Oh. Okay, Gav, I'm going to say you're telling the truth.
I am telling the truth.
To be honest, I wasn't sure when you started describing the colour, but I guess it was a few years ago, so you're just putting the image of a tiger onto this tiger. But it did seem believable. Okay, Gav, look at the page of questions. Ask me a question that you like the look of.
Is this printed matter in front of me a worksheet that I need to look at?
I've got all the questions here, so I'd like you to pick one to ask me.
Okay. Now, I want to know, Em, have you ever ridden a camel or an elephant?
Yes, I have.
Which one?
An elephant.
What type of elephant?
An African elephant.
Is that the one with the long ears?
Yes.
Ah.
I think so. To be honest, I'm not sure about the difference. I think the Indian one's got the small ears. So I think, yeah, it was an African elephant because I was in Africa.
And when were you in Africa, Em?
Oh, this was when I was at university, so a long time ago.
You were in university and in Africa?
No, I went to Africa on an Erasmus thing.
And what was it like riding on an elephant?
Ooh, it was a bit scary because they're very high and big and powerful.
How did you get onto the elephant?
There was a small ladder that I had to use.
And were you sitting in some kind of saddle or harness?
It was a kind of chair that was connected under the elephant's belly.
And what was this elephant called?
Hugo.
Hugo the elephant?
Yes.
From Africa?
Yes.
That you saw while you were on the Erasmus exchange?
Yep.
Followers, what do you think? Do you think Em's telling the truth here? My suspicion is that that is a lie.
Why? Why do you think it's a lie?
Because you've never been to Africa.
Because you know me, but okay, if you didn't know me.
The reason I know that's not true is because you love animals, and I don't think you love riding animals. It seems very unlikely that you would be sitting atop one of these.
You are right, Gav, that was a lie. But did it sound convincing?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay, I thought I was doing quite well. This just shows, though, how challenging it is. You've got to think fast. It's a very real conversation, isn't it? It's like very back and forward, very quick. And it's practicing a lot of good English, a lot of good grammar. What were you practicing, Gav?
I was practicing present perfect for the question, and then I moved to past simple, asking you about specific experiences in the past.
And a bit of past continuous for the long actions. And also, if there's a group, having that conversation as to why you think they're telling the truth and why they're lying is really nice kind of deduction.
That's
you could
nice.
use a lot of modals, could be true, might be true. You know, it's a lot of language and it's really fun. I did this exercise with a few classes last week and they all loved it.
I love it, and I'm going to use it with my students next week, Em.
It's from the Pearson book, Cutting Edge.
All right, I'll put some links in the show notes, Em. Thanks for that very, very fun game. Em, it must be time for... Quiz of the Week. And as we've been very focused on teachers in our Quiz of the Week, I think we need to think about students. So I'm going to give you a student's quiz and we will find out what type of learner you are.
Well, I could be a student, couldn't I? Anybody could be a student.
And we're all students. We're all teachers, learners, liars, truth tellers. Who knows what we are?
All right, but I'm going to channel my English student mental state, try and imagine myself turning up to a new course. Is this the sort of situation?
Well, I think even before you approach this decision, you might want to pop to arden.ac.uk and have a look at their what type of learner are you and do their quiz, and then it will probably tell you things about yourself you never knew.
Right, sounds great.
Now, I would like to know, you prefer to A, listen to things rather than read about them, B, analyse pictures, graphs and charts, or C, handle physical objects and try to understand how they work for yourself?
Wow, I would go with C. I'm quite a tactile person.
Very good. And what about the followers, Em? What are they choosing?
Yeah, followers follow, A, B or C.
That's it. Do the quiz yourselves and find out. Now, number 2, Em, you remember things by A, saying them aloud, B, watching a demonstration, or C, experiencing them for yourself, being hands-on.
I was hoping you were going to say writing them down, but you didn't. And what was the first one again?
Saying them out loud.
Yeah, I think that one for me works.
Very good. Number 3, you find reading A, takes too long, you get fidgety, B, the best and most relaxing thing ever, or C, pretty boring, you'd rather be outside.
Oh, definitely B. Love reading.
Number 4, you're more likely to remember somebody's A, name, B, face, C, hug.
Oh, that's lovely. Definitely B. I don't get that many hugs, to be honest, but yeah, B. Faces, definitely faces, never names.
Next time the followers see you in the street, you're going to get a lot of hugs. Number 5, when you see the word cat, what do you do? A, picture a cat in your mind. B, say the word cat to yourself. Or C, think about being a cat, stroking it, or hearing it meow.
I love this quiz. This is lovely. I thought everybody would just do A. I think of A. I just think of a cat. But maybe that's something to talk about. What do you think of when you hear cat, the word cat? What do you think of, Gav?
I think of cats.
Okay, you picture a cat.
Yeah, I think one pops into my head. Maybe I think of rolling on my back and purring a little.
Oh, you think about actually being a cat, not holding one, but being one. Well, okay.
Number 6, what kind of book would you like to read for fun? A book with lots of images. B, a book with lots of words and details. Or C, a book with word searches or crossword puzzles.
Oh, I like B. I like reading long descriptions of lovely things.
Very nice. Number 7, if you're ever unsure of how to spell a word, what are you most likely to do? A, write it down to see if it looks right. B, spell it out to see if it sounds right. Or C, trace the letters in the air with your finger.
I do the last one.
Do you really?
I do.
I was sure you were going to say you write it down to make sure it looks okay.
Well, it sort of is the same, isn't it? But you're writing it in the air or you're writing it on paper. But I tend to, firstly, think if I can do it in the air, then I'm saving paper and a pen.
That's fantastic.
And I haven't got to find one either.
Do your students see you writing in the air?
Oh, in a lesson? No. I'd be writing it in the air with my finger under the table surreptitiously, probably.
Ah. Number 8, you're in a clothes shop and you're standing in the queue at the checkout. What are you most likely to do while you're waiting? A, look around at other clothes. B, talk to the person next to you in the queue. Or C, fidget, move about, or rock or lean your feet.
Easy. First one. Because there might be something else that I want and I could just be using that time wisely to buy more things.
All the best stuff is next to the checkout.
I don't know if that works for clothes shops. That's usually supermarkets. But maybe, yeah. Maybe I want socks or something. That's usually at the checkout.
Number 9, what's the best way for you to study for an exam? A, read the book or your notes and review pictures or charts. B, get a friend or family member to ask you questions that you can answer out loud. Or C, make index cards that you can review.
Ooh, they're all really good. I think the second one, B, is probably for me going to help if I'm saying it.
Family members are in support.
Being tested by someone that I'm comfortable with, I think would work for me, yeah.
Very good. Last one. What do you do to relax? A, read. B, listen to music. Or C, exercise, walk, run, play, sports, etc.
Well, I do exercise, but I don't feel it's a relaxing thing. So I'm going to say A is my relaxing hobby.
Read is your answer. Now, your results are M, you have a preference for learning in an audible and visual way. People who have a preference for learning in an audible way can choose to remember things by hearing and listening. You may, for instance, choose to ask your lecturer to give you spoken instructions as well as written ones.
Excellent.
And people who have a preference for learning in a visual way can choose to learn by reading or seeing pictures. You may feel that you understand and remember things by sight. You may picture what you are learning in your head and like to see what you are learning.
And that is all true. I agree with that completely. And the questions were fun. I enjoyed the quiz. It was really interesting. I would use this in a class, maybe as a first lesson, get students to do it, talk about their results, if they agree with the results or not, or alternatively, as you mentioned, do it as a student before you go to the first class of the course. And then you can tell your teacher what you need and how you learn. I mean, I've never had a student do that. That would be incredible, wouldn't it?
I would love that, Em.
Hi, my name's Em and I am a visual learner. I mean, that would knock me off my chair, Gav.
That would be so cool. I would love to learn what things would suit that student even better. And here on arden.ac.uk, it even gives you some suggestions of preferred ways to learn if you're an audible, visual, etc. type of learner.
These are really good resources, Gav.
It is always my pleasure. So, Em, now that we've finished Quiz of the Week, is there anything else you'd like to say to the followers before we go?
No, Gav, I think that's it from me. Let's just hope we got it all right this time and we don't have to make any corrections next time.
I'm off to fact check today's episode. Hopefully we won't have too many boo-boos.
I hope not, Gav. I'm off to hook myself up to a lie detector to see how well I can lie.
Catch you later.
Bye for now.